everybody. This is Stacie with Gymnastics Mindset Academy here with Leah Clapper, and we are doing another Lessons with Leah. So can't wait to jump in today. This week in our program, we're talking all about how results and scores affect gymnasts and kind of the roller coaster ride that gymnasts seem to take with, how they're doing in the season. I follow a bunch of Facebook groups and everywhere in there is but last week she got this and this week she got this, but which was a lower score, but a better routine. And I don't understand. And she's devastated, so just kind of addressing that topic. So we can talk a little bit about that today. But before we get into that, just want to check in with you and see how you're doing and if there's anything you want to coach on.
Yeah, doing well. Season is moving along. Been feeling good in the gym, so good things.
Good. All right. And how's getting back into lineup going?
It's going. I'm doing my best.
Okay. Working hard, all you can do, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Controlling controllables. And I think that's something that definitely leads into the judging discussion as well.
Okay.
Because
Yes.
judging is out of your control.
Yes.
And all you can focus on is doing the best routine possible. I
Yeah.
know that it is frustrating sometimes when it's I did my best routine and, last week when I did a horrible routine, I got a great score, but this week they were really hard on me and it was so much better or whatever it is. But you just have to be proud of yourself for making progress, regardless of the outcome, regardless if you miss first place by half a tenth. These are all things you can learn from and use as fuel for the future, but getting caught up in something that you don't have control over is not beneficial.
Yeah, absolutely. And taking it even one step further, do you remember at the beginning when we were talking about your shaposh
Yeah.
and we were talking about getting skills that you're struggling with? We're talking about skydiving.
Yes.
Do you remember this conversation?
I do remember this conversation.
So we think that we're feeling afraid because of a skill. That the feeling that we're feeling is created because of the skill or the event or the thing that happened, right? I was coaching a little girl yesterday who, fell on her head on the vault. And so then she's like, I've never been scared of it before. And now all of a sudden I am. We think we're afraid because of the circumstance that happened. So we use the example of skydiving. And skydiving is one that if everybody if our feelings were caused by the circumstance, we'd all feel the same way by the circumstance. But
Right.
When Leah goes when Leah thinks about skydiving, she thinks, I think, exhilarated. Is
Yes.
that the feeling?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And mine is peaceful. And most people look at both of us like we're crazy because they're just terrified, right? So we always think that our feeling is created by the circumstance. But our feeling is created by the thought we have about the circumstance. So if I tell Leah, who does not have pink hair, hey, I hate your pink hair, like
I'm
that,
gonna be whatever, this lady's crazy. I don't have pink hair.
I don't have pink hair. But if I tell Leah, something about her that she already wonders if other people think, or if she already feels not sure about, or if maybe even she thinks about it herself, then she is going to also feel terrible.
Right.
But it's her thought about it, not the words, not the circumstance. And the
That's
same thing applies for scores and results it meets,
totally.
right? So when we get a score at a meet, I went through this with one of the gymnasts that I was coaching this week, where we were talking about, okay, well, what if you got 10th place at this next meet? And she got second place at the last meet. So she was like, I would be so upset. And I'm like, but what if you got the best all around score you've ever gotten in your whole life and got 10th place? She's like, "Well, I guess then I wouldn't be upset because I'm improving and da da da." And I'm like, "Yeah, it's not the 10th place.
Right.
Always your thought about it." So
Totally.
in the same way that like our fear isn't created by the skill, like our happiness isn't created by the result and our disappointment isn't created by the result. It's always our thought about it. And you made a comment last week that I thought was perfect for this topic, which was the feeling that you get when you nail your beam series out on that competition floor.
Yeah.
So what is that feeling?
Oh, it's honestly the most, like, intense, pleasant, like, relief feeling of you did what you wanted to do and did it well, and all of the things that you've been worrying about for the past 6 hours and thinking about a little bit over the past 3 days, they're all gone because you did it. And now it's time to smile and be proud and enjoy the moment and just, like, savor it because it's awesome and you did something that's hard and were successful at it, and it just gives you the greatest boost of confidence right then and there. I always find that when I nail my series, I can't stop smiling, and I'm thinking about the feeling right now, I'm smiling right now, it's just so awesome, and I know that all gymnasts can relate. Of course, while you're in the middle of the routine and you finish the hardest skill of your routine, it's really easy to celebrate a little bit in your mind, but we have to work to stay focused and now move on to the next skill, the next dance move, and finish out the routine with full focus. I think that's something I've had to work on over the years and still do
Yeah.
because after I finish the hardest skill in my routine, whatever event it is, I'm like, yes.
Done.
Then I'm like, all right, now don't mess up this full turn or don't mess up this little thing. And it gets into that don't lose it mentality instead of just going with the flow and saying your words, continuing the process just like you would in practice. Because in practice, you're not going to be celebrating super big in the middle of your routine. So you can, which I do sometimes, but I, lesser extent. And
Yeah.
being focused throughout the routine, it ain't over till it's over. That's what um a lot of people I
Yeah.
know have said, and it's so true. In a routine, celebrate at the end and celebrate at the end of the meet because anything can happen, especially in college gymnastics when you're thinking about the team.
Yeah.
Things can go crazy on the last event. So just keep focused, keep enjoying the moment, keep fighting for every tenth that you can throughout the whole night, and that's all you can do, and
Yeah.
be proud of what went well at the end.
Yeah. But I wanna come back to that feeling of so it was relief, pride, excitement, um, like, what else? Those were the 3 main feelings that I heard.
Yeah, I think that sums it up really well. Relief,
So,
pride, and excitement.
what thoughts create relief, pride, excitement for you?
I did it.
I did it. Yeah. So, there are times in life, there are special times in life where we can where we have those exhilarating emotions that we don't have every single day. And that's normal. But those emotions are available to us every single day if we want them.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking about you, one, being in a situation where you haven't been able to get out there and do that and have that feeling,
Mhm.
but also where you're in that final season. And what will life look like when you're not going to be getting up on the beam nailing your series multiple times in a year? How do we still create those same emotional experiences? How do we still think those same thoughts, feel those same feelings, even when we're not getting the opportunities and the results that we want.
Well, I guess I just gotta go skydiving. Kidding.
Right? That's definitely the feeling of exhilaration,
Yeah.
100%. Um, but let's take each one. So, like, um, what are thoughts I think the one that probably feels the best to you is just that proud,
Yeah,
right?
I would
Yeah,
agree.
yeah. So what are the thoughts that help you feel proud of yourself all the time?
This goes back to something we talked about a couple episodes ago, which was keeping promises to yourself.
Yes.
And I know that anytime I set a goal or tell myself I'm gonna do something, even if it's like last week, I told somebody that, hey, I was gonna finish writing this article by Sunday. And there wasn't a hard deadline, but I created that deadline for myself. I said I was gonna get it done by Sunday. And when I did, I felt proud that I had this busy schedule, but I made time to prioritize it. And it's something that is helping me work toward my goals, and I feel very proud that
Yeah,
I wrote a great article.
yeah.
And it's the little things like that on a day-to-day basis. If I tell
Yeah,
myself
I
I'm
want
go
you to tell me 5 things that you're proud of yourself for this week.
I'm proud of myself for this week. So, I'll start from the past week, as in last Tuesday, not as in Monday, yesterday.
Perfect.
There was things that I was proud of yesterday, but
Yes, in
I
the
don't
past 7 days.
yes. I'm proud that I stepped it up on beam a couple of days this past week, especially at the meet. I was not in the lineup, but I had the chance to warm up during the competition, and I did that really well. I nailed everything and felt ready to compete if my name was called and I needed to go for the team. And that was a great feeling for me because sometimes I get a bit stressed out during warm-ups at meets with new equipment, new scenery, lots going on. It's very fast-paced, and I'm not gonna lie, I haven't been historically the best warmer-upper ever, and that's something I'm trying to change. But it was a good warm-up, and I'm proud of that. I'm also proud that I stayed present throughout the whole meet and supported my teammates and cheered them on with my whole heart, even though I was a little bit antsy that I wasn't out there on the competition for myself. I'm I have to say I'm proud of my team for having an amazing meet as well, even though that's not just related to me, but I'm really proud of us as a whole. On over the weekend, like I mentioned, I'm proud I finished the things I said I was hoping to finish by the weekend. There was a couple other school-related things that I wanted to do, and I got those done. I'm also proud I took some time for myself. I had a really long to-do list, but it was really nice outside. Even though we got back at 3 a.m. after the meet, I felt extremely energized on Saturday, and I took advantage of that. I went for a long walk outside, I enjoyed myself, and I did a little workout because I just was bubbling with energy. It was so strange. I don't know why, because I stayed up so late, but I did a workout and it was moderate. Like, I didn't push myself too hard, but I felt the burn a little bit, and I'm proud of that, in that I listened to my body and took some time away from just grinding it out, trying to get as much as I can done, burning my eyes out looking at the computer, and did things that were good for me. Felt good and as well. And then last night we had a mandatory athlete session thing that whenever something is mandatory, it feels a little bit like, "Do I really have to go? Do I really wanna do this?" But I knew that the people that had organized it had put a ton of work into it, and it was gonna be potentially a good opportunity to learn something, even though I had to stay on campus till later in the night after practice, and I just wanted to go home and take a shower, and I gave my full attention to the speakers and got a lot out of it. So, I would say a theme of it was being present and putting my full effort towards what I was doing while also being mindful of my priorities. I think that was a good theme of the past week, and yeah, I'm proud of that.
I love it. And I think that is the important work to do. Like, one, just thinking about you, thinking about when we first started talking about doing coaching and the goals that you had for yourself this season. Of course, your main goals were, to be in the lineup and to hit routines and to help, you know, create that success. But you also kind of had some other goals, which were to figure out how to transition well out of gymnastics and to have a more present season where you weren't feeling so much anxiety constantly about competition, right?
Yeah,
And it hasn't gone in the way that you would have planned. It
no.
hasn't gone in the way that you would have wanted. And yet you're actually like reaching your goals and hitting your goals like so much, I think even more because of how it's going.
I think I have reached and they're very much progress goals,
Yeah.
not necessarily destination goals,
Yeah.
and the mindsets that I've wanted to cultivate this
Yes.
season, I've been really fighting for those.
Yeah.
And
And I'm proud of you for that.
thank you, I'm prioritizing it. Of course, I have very tangible goals like getting 10
Yeah.
on beam and floor and,
Yeah.
you know,
100%.
I'm excited to get back out there and still hopefully have the chance to get that because like I said before, it ain't over till it's over, and we still
Right.
have about 10 meets left of season, 5
Yes.
regular season, and then, hopefully we'll go all the way to the Final 4 at nationals, and that's 5 more competitions. So, there's definitely some room for that goal reaching left,
Yes.
and I'm just gonna, try to focus on what I can do and just keep reaching for those. I think it's really easy to give up when something doesn't go well in the beginning, and I
Yes.
think I felt a little bit down for a couple weeks and like, "Oh, like, I was so excited for season, like, all these things were looking so good, and now I jam my ankle and things are put off, and I'm, like, feeling unsure and uncertain about the future," and, you never know what's gonna happen in the future, but I definitely have learned some stuff from this experience, and I just wanna keep focused and, like, keeping that motivation, keep reaching forward and not giving up because, like, my teammates are doing so well, and I haven't competed yet, so why would the coaches wanna put me in the lineup when our team is doing awesome? And, I still haven't had any competition experience this season yet, but like, is that true? I don't I mean, there's a chance it could be, but it's probably not. And I definitely have a chance to break into lineup. Like, it's
Yeah.
up to me to do well and prove that I'm confident and ready, but all is not lost. And I'm
I
focused
even actually think like all is gained right now. Like, if you look at some of the things that you were just talking about, like one of the things that you've said you've done numerous times now, not just this last week, is when given the chance to warm up, you've warmed up really well. And that's something that, like, if you can take that into the next meets where you are in the lineup, and you can take the same thing that you've learned about how to warm up well and how to be present and how to hit in those moments and be proud and all of that, then, like, how much better that meet experience is even gonna be. And then the same things, like, when we're proud of ourselves going in to a competition, we do so much better
Interesting.
and we enjoy it so much more.
Yeah,
And when we're present versus anxious, we enjoy the experience so much more and we do so much better. Like it's not a fluke that you're hitting your warm-ups. You're hitting your warm-ups because you're going in and instead of being anxious and and all of and stressed and like what's going to happen, you're very in control, you're very focused, you're very confident, and you're like being proud of yourself for everything you've done up until that point. And I think taking all of the things, like all the things that you just listed about being proud of yourself or how you're showing up, being proud of yourself for how you're practicing, being proud of yourself for how you're making time for yourself instead of letting everything be like obsessively focused about gymnastics. And I don't know if you're obsessively focused about gymnastics, but I know a lot of the gymnasts that I'm working with at this point in this season, like that's all they can think about. That's all they can do. It's
for
like
most
making
yeah.
yeah. So like being in the middle of season and being able to like make time for other things and for self-care, learning all these things now, if you can take them forward to the times when you are in the lineup, it's just going to be so easy and so sweet.
Yeah, for sure. And I love that idea of just celebrating those small wins along the way.
Yeah, so
And
that's what I wanted to ask you is how do you get that really excited, I nailed it feeling every day? Or
well,
like I said, maybe it's a special feeling and it's not every day, but like I don't wanna think for you, and I don't wanna think for me. I don't wanna think for me because I can never experience what it's like to be in an arena nailing a beam series that I never get to have that feeling. And I don't wanna think that for you that you never get to have it again. Like, what thoughts are the thoughts that actually create that feeling that we can apply to our life on a regular basis?
totally. Honestly, I think there's nothing that's exactly like it.
Yeah,
Nothing compares to nailing a routine in front of almost
yeah,
10,000 fans.
yeah.
And
But I
for your
wanna remind you that nailing a routine and all in front of 10,000 fans is a circumstance.
yeah,
But the feeling is not coming from that circumstance.
right. But
It is
how
coming from the thought. So what's the thought?
yes, however, there are that I think can be used as motivation because it is such a special, surreal feeling that comes from the thoughts of around that certain situation.
Yeah,
It's hard to cultivate that exact thing. I mean, I'm sure if I went and became a performer on some stage somewhere, it would be similar. But
yeah,
with gymnastics, I love that circumstance so much that it's using I can use it as motivation,
totally.
as a why to be proud of myself, in contributing to the team at a meet. But I still can cultivate that similar feeling
Yeah, yeah,
my
yeah.
day-to-day, and I think it
So what are
happens
the thoughts that you use to cultivate the similar feeling?
yeah, whenever I create a challenge for myself in
Yeah,
a way. Like, if I say, "If I don't nail this routine, I've got 20 V-ups," or "I've gotta start over," my coach comes up with a scenario like that for me, and it brings a little bit of pressure, a little bit of anxiety, but also excitement, like, that feeling feels the same as excitement, and it's a little bit lower stakes than a meet, but just doing little challenges doesn't even have to be gymnastics related, like, it could be, "Can I do 15 pull-ups today?" Um, but then when you complete those hard things, there's definitely a feeling of pride,
yeah,
and doing that on a day-to-day basis, especially in the context of practice at gymnastics, that builds my confidence
yeah,
for when I get the chance to do it at a meet.
yeah.
And so remembering that and not just going through the motions, but creating those little day-to-day challenges, I think is super helpful. And along the lines, one question I get asked about a ton is how do you deal with mental blocks and fear in gymnastics? And I know we've talked a lot about that over the past several weeks, but one of the biggest things that usually helps me get out of my own head and push past a mental block is creating little daily doable challenges, even if it's the tiniest step ever. But any progress is better than moving backward. And I think that's an important thing to remember, especially since not in the context of fear necessarily or a mental block right now, but having a couple weeks off doing full routines, my consistency has been a little bit lower. I've been a little bit off some days, but having that pride and that celebrating when I do make progress,
Yep.
even if it's not where I thought I was gonna be at this point in season. But my coach told me the other day, she was like, "Why are you upset at all? Like, this one rough day, the past couple of days were the best days that you've had in a month."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh, yeah." And I was getting so down on myself because I was comparing myself to where I thought I should be in January compared to, like, the little bit of dips in progress that I had because of a minor injury. And, yeah, I think just the theme of celebrating the small wins, is important and something that I'm gonna continue trying to cultivate this week.
Yeah. I love how you put those 2 together. It's creating challenges for yourself in which you can create that feeling of pride because you think, I did it. I accomplished this hard thing." And it's celebrating the small things, maybe not in the same way as you celebrate the big things, but genuinely and authentically celebrating them. Because our brain is a little the part of our brain that runs the day to day is a little bit like a little kid. And I always say, like, imagine that you were doing volunteer work and you showed up and you worked so hard every day for a week. And at the end of that time, the person that like coordinated it all was like, "Thanks, see you again next week. Better come back and do just as hard. You better come back and like work just as hard." You're like, "I'm out." Like,
Yeah,
I like, not even a thank you, like, I showed up and I worked hard for you all week long, and I don't even get a thank you, I just get, like, this curt, like, "Come back and do it again," and that's, like, how our little kid brain feels towards our I call it our big sister brain, but our evolved human brain is a little bit like you said, where you're like, "Well, you didn't show up today," and your little kid brain's like, "But I've been showing like, I had 2 amazing days yesterday, I've been showing up, and, like, you didn't even thank me for it." So, like, a few
so
things that I try to do is literally, like, thank myself at the end of the workday. Like, "Thank you, Stacie, for working so hard on these things that you're dreaming about.
Oh,
Thank
that's
you for all of the hard" and I don't do it every day, but I try to. One of the things that our team cultivates, is that we, like, do a daily check-in with each other, um and then we do a weekly check-in, and every week, we say one thing we're celebrating about what we did that week, and one thing we're celebrating about what we saw a teammate do that week. And it tends to kind of even just come into our daily check-ins, in our conversations where we're just constantly training ourselves to look for, "What am I gonna be celebrating this week? The end of the week, is this what I'm gonna write down that I'm gonna celebrate?" Like, where we're looking at those things and thanking ourselves for our hard work and being proud of ourselves for our hard work. Because the reality is, the work that your body does for you, the work that your brain does for you to nail a series in practice is the same as nailing a series in competition, yet it only gets thanked if it does it that one time, you know? And so being able to be like, "Hey, brain, hey, body, thank you for
yeah,
all the hard work every day. I'm so proud of you." the hard work of showing up at a meet when you're not in the lineup and being there for your teammates and celebrating them, that's some of the hardest work you'll ever do. Right? Like, emotionally of, like, being there and genuinely celebrating them and putting them instead of you, and, like, the fact that you're doing it, like, thank you, brain. Thank
Yeah.
you, heart. Thank you that you're, like, showing up in the way that I'm asking you to, and so, I think putting those together is putting challenges for ourselves and continuing to challenge ourselves, on a regular basis to do the things that make us feel proud, or, that we create circumstances that are easier to have thoughts where we
Mhm.
feel proud, but
Yeah.
also having thoughts and being diligent about cultivating thoughts where we are celebrating ourselves. Our culture very much says that celebration only happens at the end and celebration only happens if you win.
Right.
But it's the effort that needs to be celebrated because it's the effort that actually creates the results. The results aren't the thing that's celebrated. It's the effort that it took to get to that result, and so you wanna celebrate that effort as often as you can along the way because the more you do, the more your brain and is willing to continue to show up and do it. Because this is the time in the season, it's like we're getting into February, so in the regular, club season, but I'm sure
Mhm.
too in the college season. Like, you kinda have those first 6 weeks that are, like, nervous and exciting and mostly nervous, and then now it's kind of like, okay, like, the bigger meets are a long way off. We've still got months, and this is kind of the grind, like,
Yeah.
get into, like, mid-February, March, and it's just kind of grinding it out, and we have to continue to celebrate, but we also have to realize we are gonna do this up and down.
Right.
Like, gymnasts always wanna do this thing where we start at the bottom of the graph, and then the end of season is at the top of the graph, and it's just a straight diagonal line up. Or even better, we start at the top of the graph, we go straight over with perfect performances the whole way in the end. But it's just not realistic. We tend to just kinda have this, like, up and down, up and down, up and down, and we just try to make it so that our ups are hitting where we want them to hit, but the reality is no human can go in and have, like, perfect practices and even perfect meets every single day. And
Yeah.
so, like, allowing for that to be there by celebrating and challenging.
I love the idea of thanking yourself, and I think gymnasts, myself included, a lot of times are like, "Oh, I finally did it right. Well, now I have to do it that way from now on, and I need to be better tomorrow and every day after that." And when you do something good, it's like, "All right, finally, I did it. I did it well. Now we need to improve. What's the next step?" And just moving on to the next and never
Yeah,
thanking ourselves for all the hard work that we put in to get to where we are,
yeah,
and that motivates you to do even better, but it also, like, is healthy, I think.
yeah.
I love that idea, so I'm gonna put that into practice for sure. This
Well,
has
we
been
go
a good episode.
good. We go back to this little we have a I don't have it near me, but we have a little jar that has beads in it, and, like, we talk about, like, that part of our brain, it loves shiny little objects, it loves collecting, and it loves being told what a good job it's doing, and the more that we do that for that part of our brain, the more on board that part of our brain is gonna be to do the things that feel hard. So,
I know I do always do better when my coaches tell me, like, "Keep up the great work," or a teammate comes up to me and is like, "Your hard work doesn't go unnoticed, like, doing
mm,
awesome, keep it up."
love
And
it.
why don't we tell ourselves that?
Yeah,
And what we should do that to other people too,
yeah,
but
yes.
we often do it for other people probably more than we
More
do,
than we do it for ourselves.
and remembering that to
Love
talk
it.
to ourselves that way.
Thanks so much for jumping on with me today, and I'll see you next week.
Sounds good.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye.